It's strange, isn't it? The more we surround ourselves with technology, the lonelier we feel. We're connected to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people online, yet right now, in this quiet moment, it feels as if no one truly knows us. Not really. This feeling of isolation, despite the constant buzz of digital notifications, has become more common than ever. But why? But before that, this is Easy Psychology 101, and I'm a therapist dedicated to breaking down psychology for you. Imagine this, a young woman, let's call her Sarah. She's in her mid-20s, lives in a bustling city, and has a solid career. Every day she wakes up to notifications from social media, work emails, and messages from friends. Her calendar is packed with meetings, lunch plans, and occasional hangouts. To an outsider, her life seems fulfilling. She's connected, right? Surrounded by people. But behind that screen, Sarah feels something she can't quite explain. At first, she brushes it off. Maybe it's stress from work. Maybe it's the hustle and bustle of city life. But the feeling grows. No matter how many people she texts, no matter how many likes her posts get, Sarah feels disconnected. It's like there's an invisible wall between her and the rest of the world. The more she tries to engage, the more it feels like she's just skimming the surface of relationships, never truly diving deep. And the more she realizes that, the lonelier she becomes. We've all had moments where we've felt like Sarah. It's ironic, isn't it? In a world where we can reach out to almost anyone with a single tap on our phones, loneliness is still pervasive. In fact, according to recent studies, more people report feeling lonelier today than ever before, even with the rise of social media and constant digital connectivity. But how did we get here? And more importantly, how do we navigate this growing sense of isolation? Let's break it down. Loneliness isn't about the absence of people around us. It's about the quality of our connections. It's possible to be surrounded by people, at work, at parties, even on social media, and still feel utterly alone. Why? Because loneliness stems from a mismatch between the social connections we want and the ones we actually have. Think about Sarah. She has friends, co-workers, and a life filled with social interactions. But those interactions often lack depth. Her conversations might be about surface-level things, work, the latest trends, or casual updates. But rarely do they dive into meaningful, intimate territory. And it's in that intimacy, that vulnerability, that true connection is formed. So, what is it about our current digital world that makes deep connections so hard to come by? On the one hand, technology gives us access to an infinite number of people, ideas, and experiences. But on the other hand, it also distances us. Instead of talking face-to-face, we chat through screens. Instead of spending quality time with loved ones, we're constantly distracted by the next notification. And here's the thing. Digital interactions, as convenient as they are, lack the richness of in-person communication. When we speak to someone face-to-face, there's a depth of communication that goes beyond words. We pick up on body language, tone of voice, and even subtle emotional cues that are often lost in text messages or social media comments. When we speak to someone face-to-face, there's a depth of communication that goes beyond words. We pick up on body language, tone of voice, and even subtle. These elements are essential to feeling truly connected to someone. Without them, our interactions can feel shallow, leaving us yearning for something more. But it's not just the lack of face-to-face interaction that contributes to loneliness. It's the nature of social media itself. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter are designed to show us the best moments of other people's lives, the highlights. We see pictures of vacations, celebrations, and seemingly perfect relationships. What we don't see are the quiet, lonely moments, the struggles, the uncertainties. This creates a distorted reality. We start comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, which can make us feel inadequate, like we're missing out or not living up to some invisible standard. And this constant comparison can deepen our sense of disconnection. Even when we post something on social media, there's this subtle pressure to present the best version of ourselves. We curate our lives, editing out the messy parts, the parts that make us human. In the process, we lose authenticity. And authenticity is the foundation of genuine connection. Have you ever had a conversation where you felt truly heard? Where you could be yourself, without the need to filter or present a certain image? Those moments are rare, but they're also the ones that make us feel most alive, most connected. Unfortunately, in the age of digital communication, those moments are becoming increasingly rare. Now, don't get me wrong. Technology isn't inherently bad. In fact, it can be an incredible tool for staying in touch with people, especially those who live far away. But like any tool, it depends on how we use it. If we're constantly relying on it to replace real-life interactions, or if we're using it as a way to avoid deeper conversations, then we're only feeding into the cycle of loneliness. So, what can we do? How can we break this cycle of loneliness and disconnection? The first step is awareness. We need to recognize when we're using technology as a crutch, when we're using it to fill a void that can only be filled by meaningful, face-to-face interactions. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media, take a moment to reflect on how it makes you feel. Are you feeling more connected or more isolated after spending time online? Once we become aware of how technology impacts our sense of connection, we can start making conscious choices. We can set aside time for real-life conversations, for phone calls or video chats that go beyond surface-level updates. We can seek out opportunities to be vulnerable with the people we care about, to share not just our successes, but also our struggles, our fears, and our insecurities. Because it's in those moments of vulnerability that true connection is forged. It's not about having hundreds of friends or followers. It's about having a few close, meaningful relationships. People who truly know us, who we can rely on, and who we can be ourselves with. These are the connections that nourish us, that give our lives meaning, and that help us combat loneliness. And finally, we need to cultivate a sense of community. In today's individualistic society, it's easy to get caught up in our own lives and our own problems. But we're not meant to navigate this world alone. We're wired for connection, for community. Whether it's through family, friends, or social groups, we need to create spaces where we can come together, share our experiences, and support each other. These spaces don't have to be large or formal. They can be as simple as a regular coffee date with a friend or a weekly phone call with a loved one. What matters is that we show up for each other, consistently and authentically. In the end, loneliness is a complex and deeply personal experience. It's not something that can be solved overnight or with a simple fix. But by becoming more aware of how we interact with technology, by prioritizing meaningful connections, and by fostering a sense of community, we can begin to bridge the gap between loneliness and connection. So if you're feeling lonely right now, know that you're not alone. Many people are going through the same thing. Let me know if you need any help with that. I'm here to help you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support us by subscribing and liking the video. See you soon.